Good morning, Tech Talk Worldwide. Today's special guest on Tech Talk Live is Ashley Gregory. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning. How are you? Hello to Tech Talk Worldwide.
Yeah,
Excited to be here.
I'm great. Here's what I do know is it's deceiving. The sun is out, but it's freezing cold. I bet it's about 18 degrees here. Where are you at?
I'm in Chicago and it is sunny but chilly. And I'm sure you can probably, or you will hear in the background, they're working on a building down the street. It's very loud. And of course, the sirens and the beautiful confetti of sounds of a big city. So chilly.
Oh my goodness. How long have you been in Chicago?
I've lived here for, oh my gosh, 11 years. I'm actually originally from central Wisconsin, but I wanted to live in a big city. So here we are.
I grew up in California, so I had the big city living, but I can tell you, I live in a population of like almost 700 right now. It's very scattered. And I miss the big city, but I kind of like the relaxing of this. Yesterday, I was in Montana, and it got me that little bit of a big city vibe, and I actually felt like it was Christmas finally.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's I don't mind the snow. I like having seasons, but then it's, you go outside and it's 50 below Fahrenheit and the wind hurts your face and you think, why do I live here? But it's for that little sliver of summer that we get that it's all worth it. So
That's true. I have snowbirds that leave and I don't see them for 4 months. They'll come back in the spring when everything thaws out. And sometimes I think that that's exactly what I'm going to do.
yeah, I can get around like that life where you get to leave for a little bit and come back and experience. But I'm sure being from California, it must be interesting to see the leaves change and all that fun stuff too.
It's my favorite. Absolutely.
Nice.
Well, Ashley, good morning. And thank you for joining in from lovely Chicago. So I want to go back into your time and have you share with us what inspired you to become in the beauty industry. Where'd you go? There you
I
are.
don't know. I'm back. Hello.
What inspired you to get into the beauty industry?
That's such a good question. I was actually a retail operations manager for the department store with the big red star, and I worked there for about 4 years. I had around 50 direct employees, and it was not the job that I wanted to wake up to every day. And so I would come home, and as a way to kind of decompress and zen out, I would do my nails. And I started out as a DIYer. I followed all of our favorite bloggers, and it was just something to challenge myself and think about, like, how crazy can I make this nail art, and how outlandish and how complicated, and can I spend 5 hours doing my nails and, redoing them every 2 days. And finally, so many people had grabbed my hand and said, where are you getting your nails done? Where can I go there? And I was just saying, I'm doing them myself. And people were excited and surprised. And finally, about 250 people told me, like, you should be doing this for your job. And so I found a job I could do Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, which was like the opposite of a retail schedule. And I got to go to nail school part-time. And ever since then, it's been full speed ahead. I knew I had found my thing. And so 2013, I got licensed in the state of Illinois and haven't looked back since.
I love it. So, one of the things when we talk about from all around the world is the education and our beginning education. So what kind of a school do you feel that you went to? Do you think that you learned what you needed to, or did they just give you the basics and what you learned was in the real world?
That's such a good point. It is so different from school to school, state to state. And I know for our international viewers, it's, you can be certified by a brand, or you can be, you could take a one-day course and then just upskill from there. And so that's really, you've kind of touched on in question two, like my big reason for being. But I was very fortunate. I got to go to a really good nail school. It was nails only. It wasn't just an offshoot of a cosmetology school. And we learned about things like polymerization, and we learned about what exactly was happening in the chemical reaction when you put your hand in the lamp. And so I count myself very fortunate to have had that kind of an experience. Yet I completely understand when people say that their nail school experience was, a little lacking. I feel like law school doesn't prepare you to become a lawyer, nail school and beauty school does not prepare you to become a working professional. And, obviously their rates of pass fail on the test is what they're striving towards. And so we're really learning not to fail one test. And we're not learning as a collective industry how to be successful in this business. And so that's my big, that's my overarching goal that I think about every day when I wake up and go like, yes, I get to do this job.
What a great
experience like.
Yeah, so I was the complete opposite. I had to, when we didn't have a nail only program in Wyoming, but living in California, and my mom and my aunt, my grandfather, and my cousin had all been in the beauty industry. And so it was going to be natural that I fell into it, but I did not want to do hair at all. Like you can even see my Cindy Lou hair today.
It's like moving mine to the side. I'm like, yeah, hair, boo.
Yeah, there's not enough to keep me into hair. But nails was definitely an interest. But honestly, we moved to Wyoming right after, it was like halfway through my senior year. And all I wanted to do was go back to California. I did not want to be in Wyoming. What was Wyoming? All of that. And so I had another aunt who was an instructor at a school. And I asked her if I could just sit in during the nail course and not learn the hair. And she's like, no, there's not a program like that. But there should be. And I go, well, there is in California, like California is better than, everything. And so anyways, we helped go to legislation and actually create a nail only program. However, so that was in 1991. Actually, it started in 1990. And so I'm old. And so I had to sit in during the theory of the cosmetologist, which at that time, it was truly basic manicure, pedicure, sanitation, all of that. There was a little bit of dabbling into the acrylics. There was no gel. There was definitely no gel polish, no lights, none of that.
Right.
And so in the Milady book, which actually I get to help develop the next edition of the Milady book, so I'm super excited. But in that Milady book, there was a tiny little section in there of nail art, and I remember it being striping tapes.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was it. And so the rest that I had to learn was afterwards. But here's what I realized. They never set you up for success on how to schedule. They never set you up for success on how to do a fill. Because when you're in school, you do so many full sets, manicures and pedicures. What you do in the salon is so different. You might do manicures and pedicures, and nowadays it's more of a spa, kind of situation for that.
Well, there's no maintenance taught. There's no reality to it. It's just, here's the theory. Here's how you do a full set. Here's what's, if you're lucky, here's what's happening, behind the scenes or the chemistry of it. But it's not like, okay, what do you do when the phone's ringing? You have a client who came half an hour early and you've got someone who's showing up asking you to fill some work you didn't do. There's none of that balance of here's how to actually run your business. And I'm seeing the trend of so many nail techs really frustrated with the way the industry is now and tired of being stuck in the dirty corner of the hair salon. And so they're going out on their own, which is so cool. But then it's like, okay, I've done my mom's nails, I've done my sister's nails, and I don't have any other clients. And so how do I make this a viable career? And that's my big raison d'etre is how do we make this how do we hold up the people in our industry that are really successful and have made this a big deal, and you can show to other people considering this as a real career opportunity. When people were grabbing my hand, at the Big Red Star and saying, this is what you should be doing, I was so snobby about it because I didn't know enough about the industry. And I'm like, I went to college for international studies. Why would I become a manicurist? And I didn't know how much opportunity there is and how fun this job is and how you get to touch people's lives. And so I totally agree with you. It's so hard to overcome those formative experiences in school where you're like, okay, some people don't even get beyond the oh, I don't want to touch feet. And the attrition rate in our industry is so high. It's you go to nail school, you put yourself through it, you find the money, which is obstacle number one, and then you're out of the industry in 2 years because it's not right for you. And that's what I find so frustrating. And when I'm on set every day, people are asking me, do you work in a salon? And I happen to not work in a salon or be client facing anymore. But it's almost asked that's the only option for you. You know, what else could you possibly be doing as a nail tech? And so that's why I love what you do and how you get to, you know, kind of shape other people's experiences and reach out and bring us all together as a community. Like it's
It's
kind of like a
been,
stand.
yeah. So one of the things that I had, so obviously, when you first get in the nail industry, for me, I was, no kids, just out of high school. This was not a real job.
Right.
It was going to get me into, being able to work evenings, so I go back to school, or I could get a real job, and which I did. I became an EMT, and you know what? I didn't like it. I did it for many years, and I loved what I had in the salon. And so, but after 27 years, that same education, the girls in the schools are getting the same thing that I did 27 years ago. So I'd actually did an interview with Nails Magazine. It was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And we were talking about, if it wasn't for me, because we didn't grow up with social media,
Right.
for me, if it wasn't for the trade magazines, I would not know about all the new products and stuff like that, because I couldn't afford to travel to hit all of the shows to see the latest in the products and all
Sure.
that. And so it really took that. And then Beauty Tech Forum came out with, AOL chat rooms, and then that kind of helped unite us. But now with Facebook and YouTubes and all these things, I think we can get to the next level of education, but it takes techs like us that have been in the industry for a while of sharing our knowledge, because it's not in a book. What we have is, it's in our head. So I encourage people to get out there and help each other and become a mentor. And so with that being said, you're doing exactly that. And so when did you give up the salon side of it and start going into the education side?
Well, first I want to give a shout out to a couple of people watching. Hello to Angela. Hi, Eileen. Honestly, full disclosure, this is really, people are going to be like, wait, what? I worked in a salon for 2 weeks.
That's all you needed.
I worked in a salon for 2 weeks. It was not, sorry, someone just called me because everyone I know knows I'm doing this right now. And now it kicked me off of my being able to see the questions. Right out of school, I was like, okay, what I'm going to do, and what the only career path that I was informed about was work in a salon, work for someone else, and you just hope that the sanitation practices are right, and you hope that you'll find clients, and you wish and you hope, and you don't really plan. And unfortunately, it was a situation where we were not being compensated legally. And the nail department was being kind of reintroduced, but it wasn't being advertised. And so it was me and a friend from school, and it was just kind of an unfortunate situation where straight commission on a $20 service is not enough to make a living. And so I left right away because I'm like, this is not going to work. And so I did what many techs do, is I was going to rent space, and I was known for nail art at the time. My first Nails magazine cover had just happened. It was all happening right away in the beginning. And I was like, okay, I'm going to ride this magazine cover to a full book, and really didn't know what I was doing. And so now that's my favorite part of educating other techs, is like, don't do what I did. Don't try to create something from scratch with absolutely no plan and no real business skills other than what I had learned from my department store management job. So my salon experience was short, but then after that, I spent 6 months as a booth renter. And so I kind of learned the ins and outs of all aspects of, compensation structure and how to price your services, and by making so many mistakes. And that's really, I think, what made me so passionate about education, is that, like, to your point, beyond the trade magazines, everything else is so hair focused when it comes to education. It's like, well, I don't need to know how to price a balayage. I need to know how to price a hard gel full set. And nobody's giving me that information. And so, through kind of trial and error and many mistakes and wanting to give up, I found people like Tina Alberino and her blog, This Ugly Beauty Business. And it's like, oh, if we run this like an actual business with numbers that make sense, like, it just blew my mind. And so, my salon days unfortunately gave way to set work. And so that's my number one, as far as actually physically doing the nails. But yeah, I totally understand when techs get frustrated and talk about how it's such a hard thing to get into, and then it's a hard industry to stay in. And that's why educators and independent educators and people like you who are making these communities, it's so important.
Yes, absolutely. So another thing that you came up with was Nailscape. And so do you want to introduce us to your other side of your business?
Definitely. Working as a session manicurist, I was very lucky to be able to go backstage at New York Fashion Week and see what all of these amazing lead manicurists were doing. And it was so interesting because the press was like really excited about what they were doing, but I, as a nail consumer before I became licensed, I never saw that information. I never saw what people like, Miss Pop and Flurry Rose, what they were doing backstage. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to start a blog the next time I go to Fashion Week, and I'm going to talk about what these manicurists are doing and how they should be getting so much more attention. And they're such great artists. And that's what the Nailscape started as. It was my original intention to talk about backstage nails. And there were so many great examples, and there were just as many beautiful nude nails that weren't really that exciting to talk about. And so I was finding with the blog, thenailscape.com, it kind of became like a stopgap and a bridge between the great blogs that all those DIYers were doing and swatching and talking about new collections, and the other side of it, which was the only technical info I was getting was from the brands. And of course, every brand thinks their product is the best. And so it's like, how do we cut through the DIYers who don't have the technical education that we do, and the brands who are giving you, let's say it, biased information? What's the bridge between those two? And that's what the Nailscape is now. It's a blog, it's a subscription box, but I wanted to kind of parlay those relationships that I have with these brands by being a session manicurist and being backstage and seeing, Team CND creating these amazing nails, and what the tech behind the table in their salon in Wyoming or wherever, what they're seeing and what they're exposed to beyond an ad. And so that's what I love about the Nailscape and being the Nailscape, because it's just me. And that's what I love about all of this. It's like we can control our destiny as nail techs, and we don't have to be beholden to one brand. We don't have to take what we're told at face value, and we can question and come up with our own results and our own everything, really.
Absolutely. One of the things that you just mentioned, for many years, if you became an ambassador, an educator with a company, you had to be exclusively them.
Totally.
All your education, everything you talked about needed to be them. And I've done that in the past. I've actually done that with a couple different companies.
Sure.
And what I realized is that when I did that, I kind of stretched the box a bit. And so what I learned is I like to play. And so I learned that maybe one company might have a glitter line and the other one doesn't. And so the one promotes you mixing the glitter with the gel, the acrylic or whatnot. And the other one says, no, absolutely, you can't. It won't have a good bond. You can't do that. And so I realized that staying independent and being able to have the freedom of creativity, because I needed that to stay in the industry. If I was just doing basic nails like what we used to, I would have been bored. And so I needed that escape of being independent. And so what you said earlier is about, you kind of get biased information from the company because they want you to buy only theirs is the best. And you see that not just in the beauty industry, but you see that with food. You see that with every grocery stores, restaurants. And so I've noticed the last couple of years, there's big changes when it has come to the beauty industry. They're allowing ambassadors to come on, but be independent still. So you can work with other products. They just want you to also include theirs. And they're being a lot more lenient on that. Now, there's also a lot more allergies in our industry because people are combining and mixing and not curing properly and all that and getting the knowledge. But in a way, our industry has grown so much because we can be independent and use our creativity for these fashion designs that are way out there, or 4D, 3D, all this stuff. And so I think our beauty industry is making a big turn the last few years into allowing us to truly be artists and to have fun, and that there is no rule book per se. It's just creativity and art. And so it's kind of fun right now in our industry, I think.
It really is. And I think you touched on some really good points there, that it's this weird kind of dichotomy between having the technical knowledge to be able to play and be kitchen chemist, and then also understanding things are falling down over here. I don't know what's happening. But also understanding like what you can and can't do. And if we're going to put our clients in danger with regard to a potential allergic reaction, or, are the clients being educated adequately enough with at-home kits and things like that, where, they don't know any better, and they just know the myths that are kind of being perpetuated in mainstream media with regard to, the killer pedicures and the lamps are going to kill you and they're going to unplug themselves in the middle of the night and jump in your bed and hurt you. Like it gets to be, a little extreme. And so I think it's our job as professionals to educate every single client in our chair and help them understand that, no, not only do I know what's happening when your hand is in the lamp, but I can explain to you in terms you'll understand why, your nail service is not going to kill you. But yeah, I also think, to your point about brands being a little bit more lax about, I think there's a definite difference between an educator, an educated ambassador. Mm-hmm. I think I just made up a word there, educative.
I'm with you though. I speak.
There's a difference between an educator and maybe a brand ambassador, or someone who is brought on because they have a following and they get to, talk favorably about the brands that are, let's be honest, paying them to do so. Yeah. And there's also, on the other side of things, this huge backlash right now against influencers. And I'm seeing it coming from makeup. If you follow anything about beauty YouTube right now, it's all about authenticity. And people are being rewarded for being authentic and honest and sharing their actual opinions and views, versus being paid by a brand $60,000 to say that their makeup palette is better than a competitor's. And it's like, we're not being told that we're being sold to. And that's another reason why I think education is so important, especially at trade shows. We've all been in those classes that are just thinly veiled commercials where you think you're going to be learning a pink and white, and really you're going to be learning why X brand is superior. And that's just, I find that so annoying.
It's so true. I'm different when I go to shows. I love demoing because it's what I enjoy doing. However, I realized that all these shows that I've been to in the past and different workshops and stuff, when you only get demos, you're just watching. You don't really get the hands-on part. I like to swap it, and I sit on the other side and they sit in my chair, and automatically you feel these people sit and go, I can't believe I'm sitting on this side of the table.
Sure.
Like, then they start feeling a little bit of an ownership, like, oh, I got to prove myself. Oh my God, I have to prove myself to you. I have to do your nail. And it's like, yeah, let's do this. Because that's how you're going to learn. I'm going to be able to instruct you, and I'm going to be able to sit with you. But until you're hands-on with that product, that's the biggest education, is, learning it hands-on like that. We can watch and we can read all we want, but until you're hands-on. So people, they get a little nervous when they come to anywhere I'm at, because they know I'm going to put them on the spot and I'm going to swap it around and say, okay, let's do this. Let's walk
for it. That's so smart, because watching a demo by someone who is used to the product, knows its nuances, it's not a clear picture of what something is going to do or how it'll perform for you. I'm definitely, I don't do a lot of enhancements. And so when it comes to an enhancement product, I really try to put it through its paces. But to your point, I have to wait until I'm home at my own table to do that. And so it's just very interesting. I feel like we're at a real crossroads right now in the industry of what is considered acceptable forms of education and what brands can and can't get away with now. And so I think it's going to be cool to see what happens in 2019, because there's going to be definitely a lot of outside the box thinkers, especially at shows. If you're doing something different as a brand, you will be noticed.
Yeah. And so recently I just got to go on a cruise where I was teaching on a cruise, and it was a unique experience. I can tell you, I don't know if you can tell I'm swaying. I'm still on the ship and it's been over a week. And I'm, yeah, it's, the doctor actually told me the name, and I'm sure it sounds great if somebody says it in like French, but in my English, it's like mal de débarquer.
Okay.
And it can, like, the last time I did it was 3 months. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I think this is being, I'm making some very creative nail art right now because I can't draw a straight
Some
line.
wavy lines.
So
Very nautically themed, it's like, oh, well, it's a wave.
yeah, yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah. And so, anyways, on a side note with that, I really like the type of education that's based more small group one-on-one rather than demos of trade shows. Now, don't get me wrong, I love to go to trade shows. I love to see all the different education there. And of course, swag bags and all, all of that. But when it comes to true education, I really like retreats. I like the one-on-one small group. I still do in salon education.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's your favorite part about the education? Do you like online workshops? Do you like to do the demos, or do you like the more hands-on small groups?
Well, okay, so I'm going to get a little controversial, but I think that there's a lot of hands-on education that's happening right now in a way that is not giving the attendees the most potential value. And what I mean by that is I am a huge proponent of working under camera for education. If I'm doing something hands-on, I definitely want to be under camera so that attendees can see close up. I find the look and learn style of education to be just very kind of passe now that we have the technology and it's not prohibitively expensive in most cases. If you can do a projection of a technique, I just find that so much more valuable as an attendee than standing for 4 hours around, crowded around a table. I also believe I have a lot of opinions, Amy.
Let it all out. That's how we learn.
This is going to be quite the sesh. But I personally don't teach a lot of hands-on education. I just recently have started adding it to my educational repertoire because I work mostly with traditional polish. When I'm on set, I have to put something on the model that's going to be easily removed. And so I'm still working with air dry polish. And now it's kind of starting to move towards gel a little bit, like a soft gel. But honestly, I find the things that we as professionals get excited about is glitter and art and cool effects. But the most important thing we've learned to do is polish. And it was literally one of the first things we've learned. And how many people have actually reviewed their polishing technique? Not many. And so that's my hands-on, and that'll be coming in 2019. It's called Polish for Perfection. I personally see no difference between in-person education and online, only because unless it's a technique that I really need a lot of help with, as an attendee, I think you can get just as much out of an online video-based course as you could sitting across a table from someone else. But I'm also noticing that there's a lot of courses out there taught by people who know how to do one thing, and they do that thing really well. Maybe they're complimented on their C curve, and I'm like, that's a tip. What are we talking about? So it's so interesting. I just think we need to be very good at vetting the credentials of the person teaching. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, no, good points. Very, very good points. Because with the opportunity of being online, and there's rules like in the United States, some states you have to be licensed, some states you don't. Some states you're inspected. Like we are highly, highly regulated in Wyoming,
Sure.
and we random inspections not only from our lovely tax assessor guy, but we also get it from the state, and it ties into the health department. And so we have multiple inspections that we have to do. But the state next to me, absolutely nothing. And so it's kind of interesting. However, it goes on the same way with online. Sometimes you're going to find people who have the higher credentials. For me, because I teach online workshops, mine, I always say it's my nerdy nail knowledge. It's more based off of my experiences. However, I've also taken the educator courses for many of the product lines out there. So I'm always still non-biased on the product, but you got to find which one works best for you. I agree. I love, and I've signed up for many other online workshops because I like that I can watch it and then watch it again. It's almost the first time you watch something, whether you're at a show doing a demo or an actual in-salon workshop, you retain it, but as soon as you get on the road, you're going to lose majority of that. And therefore, you get back into your salon, maybe you don't have the exact same products or something, and then you're a little bit lost on what you learned. When it's an online workshop or a video-based workshop, what's nice about that is you can go back and re-look at it. And every time you re-watch it, you're going to take one extra little thing that you might have even known, but all of a sudden the light bulb moment comes on and you go, oh my gosh, I get it. I've had so much fun the last couple of years creating online workshops. So much fun because because it's a different platform and I get anxiety when there's a whole bunch of people standing around me and you can hear them breathe, you can hear them laugh. Are they laughing at me? All the insecurities come in and the anxieties. When I can teach online, it takes away a part of the anxiety element. And so I think a lot of people have ran into that. And so maybe they don't have the credentials or the education base behind them. They just want to share everything that they have. And you're right, you need to kind of weed through them a little bit and find out which ones are truly the ones that are helping you succeed. And
yes,
yeah,
definitely. I mean, what I love about online education is that the barrier to entry is low. What I hate about online education is that the barrier to entry is low. And so it's, as an attendee, maybe, I'm in Chicago and I get the benefit of having a beauty show in my backyard and having lots of educators come through, whether it's in the city or the suburbs. And so I have lots of options for in-person education, which is great. But I've become much more discerning about what I will and will not accept when it comes to attending a class. And that has made me a much better educator because, first of all, I love an audience. If you've taken a class with me in person, I'm trying to make you laugh the entire time. And usually I'm just making myself laugh, which either way I have a good time. It's really fun. But I also like the fact that a lot of the things that I teach, such as social media, email marketing, branding, are things that live online anyway. And so to help attendees who skew a little bit older in the age demographic, especially for my basic social media course, forcing them to kind of step outside of their comfort zone and do something that's online based is just helping them build that skill set anyway. And so, I think it's, buyer beware. You have to look at what's going to make the most sense for you and who you're going to learn from. And I was just interviewed for Nail Pro magazine for an upcoming feature about influencer-led education. And I talked specifically about, if this person has a lot of bad reviews and you're seeing things happening in social media where they're being mentioned a lot in a not so positive light, and yet you still sign up for the class, some of these things we have to be a little bit more discerning about. But I really think that online-based, video-based modules and education is really where we're headed. And so I think the early adopters are going to be rewarded.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. But like I said, and you agreed, in 2019, there's going to be a lot of changes, and I get to be a part of a lot of that. I can't really talk about everything that's in the works.
Ooh, okay.
Say that it's based off of written modules and international and almost a baseline around the world of base education all the way to
smart.
And so, how we want that with our children? We want that Bible for our children of this is really the behind the scenes stuff, but this will tie into products. And like what you mentioned earlier, really understanding, the dynamic of what the products are, where they're made, how they're made, what's in them, what's the difference between vegan, and all the titles, the organic that they put on different things, when really they're all made from the exact same barrel overseas.
Having, a subscription box now and having these partnerships with brands, I'm really seeing, that where some of these things are coming from and how there are just so few sources for things. And it's like looking at something like Polygel that came out last year or the end of the year before, and now how many people have a tube-based gel. And you can just kind of see things if you just look at the big picture. I really am a strong proponent of non-product based education. I think if you can work with a category of product it shouldn't matter what brand is put in front of you. You should be able to have mastery of that category. And so if you know how to work liquid and powder, if you know how to work hard gel, if you know how to work color, whatever, you should be able to then just slightly, fine tune and adjust for the little nuances of the product in front of you. And that's really going away. I feel like we've been in such a brand-led space for so long that I really foresee a lot of product-based education coming, category-based education coming down the pike too.
Yeah. I don't know how much Doug wants me to throw this out there, but Doug Schoen is actually really pushing hard this year. Not only based on his books, but his website and his chemistry, obviously in the beauty industry that he's been a chemist for many years. But he's trying to create an education for educators base that if you've gone through these certain specific education types, that it would make you more of a credible educator. It's going to be kind of controversial, and he knows that, but I kind of like the vision that he's going for a little bit, but there's other ways that we can, get it out there as well. But I think it's us pulling together and everybody together all around the world and creating that basis of education that's important so that our careers can be longevity, so that DIYers can see us as more of a professional, not like, oh, well, I do the same thing that they do and I didn't have to get licensed and I charge for it under the table and all of that. So I think it will help put us up on a more prestige level with respect. And so, but us pulling together, I think it's going to make some changes this year. I'm really excited.
I'm biting my tongue so hard right now. Okay. I totally agree that as independent educators, there really, just as educators in general, there should be a baseline. There should be a baseline of what we all know, what we all have learned across product categories, what we know about disinfection and sanitation protocols based on what our state boards require, and what's just good best practice. I also feel, though, on the other side of that coin, that who is the arbiter of that baseline? Who, whether self-appointed or not, and whether they have the correct credentials to be that arbiter or not. And so I think whatever's coming with regard to that, I will keep at arm's length until I thoroughly investigate it for myself. Just understanding that while I agree that there is no baseline, I disagree that we're all highly uneducated and unintelligent. And so sometimes I feel like while there's I'm trying so hard to be diplomatic right now, Amy. Here we go. While I agree, again, that there should be a baseline, I'm not sure anyone yet is qualified through experience or training to be the one to say, I'm going to certify all the independent educators, or I'm going to certify all the brand educators. And so,
which is why it takes
chat about that later.
Yeah.
However.
But it's so true, Ashley. What it takes is not one person to say, oh, I'm the guru of this. It really takes an entire team, as it does with any big corporation. You're going to have your board, and you're going to have all the people with it that vote on different things and make it a team effort. It's not just a one person, my rules, my way.
Well, and when it comes to something like this, there have been associations who've been trying this for years. And the number one roadblock they come to is, okay, so you've spent the money to get this additional certification, even though you've gone through whatever steps you need to be certified to perform services where you live. Clients don't care. And that's the number one problem, is we have to make clients care and educate clients to know that if I have a window cling on my salon window saying that I took, Grandmaster Poobah of the world nail time class, why they should care about that and what's going to be the direct benefit to the client. And so when we even look at things like, and I don't want to open this whole can of worms, but when we look at things like online platforms for mobile services, clients just want the end result. They don't care if the person coming to them is a celebrity makeup artist, or it's someone who trained at a Mac counter, or it's someone who has a caboodle full of Revlon palettes. Mm-hmm. So we have to be better as an industry, at educating our client pool on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. and if these platforms are paying us correctly and all of that stuff too. So I don't think we need to get into all of that. I know this has been well trodden ground. Like I said, I don't know if I warned you, I have a lot of opinions.
I can handle it. It's all
Good.
good. And what you have to say is very, I mean, it's needed. It needs to be talked about, but you're right. It's one of those, it's like those roundtable events where everybody just has to project it. But you're right, over all these years, they've had those and we seem to still be at the same point. And so,
So true. And I don't know if anybody's cracked the code yet. And I see Lisa's comment about how we do need some direction. I totally agree. And I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to be very difficult because someone will benefit monetarily and financially from being the leading platform that educates the educators and certifies the certifiers. And so when there's money involved, I think overall goals can get clouded. And that's why I have personally aligned myself with nonprofit organizations in our industry. But then again, there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape and things that have to be approved and boards involved. And so it's not something that's going to come fast. And I think anything that does come fast, we need to really take like a long side-eye look at and really consider the source.
so true. I love it. Absolutely love
We're
it.
getting into it. It's happening.
And obviously, so Lisa's on here and she was like, you know, I agree, Ashley. Oh, sorry, I have to put my glasses on. I can barely read.
I'm wearing contacts today for like, I only wear contacts when I'm on video because I have so many lights and my glasses are always really, there's lots of glare. And so I'm like trying to read the comments out of the corner of one eye.
It's sad. And you know what? I didn't really have to start wearing glasses till a couple of years ago. I told my husband and I think it's time for us to get the LASIKs done.
Ooh, that scares me. Eye lasers. I don't know. My
Um,
brother had it done and had very good results. So I'm sure he's not watching, but hi, Tyler.
and so Lisa actually, she's on here and she says, I agree with Ashley. Nice backdrop above your fire, Amy. My faith.
I know I've been admiring that, and I told you earlier too. I have a wall.
Yeah. Actually, this is the heat source for my studio, and so it works very well. And I love that so many people, my clients especially, they just say it's so calming and makes it homey. It's kind of funny because it's just a fake fireplace, but I love it.
You kind of zone out to the flames too.
Now Sue's on here. She says she's actually not too far from you. So Sue, where are you at?
Yeah,
And
I would love to know where you are.
yeah. Eileen is on here. Oh, Eileen, I just read one of your blog posts yesterday. It just was an eye opener. I love what you write. And she says his frustration over educators spreading false info is on fire. Absolutely, it is. And so trying to sort through that and pull all this together rather than, you know, push everybody apart and allow everybody to have an opinion and respect it and not just say, well, you don't agree with me, so I'm not talking to you anymore.
True. And there's kind of an epidemic of that right now. I mean, just in general. So it's difficult to, it's hard to have a spirited debate where that's respectful of everybody's opinions. And I think we are in a situation of our own making as an industry. We are coming from 51 different places in the United States with regard to the standard we're held to and the education that we are expected to receive before we have this job. And when I'm on set, honestly, I'm usually the only person there who holds a license to do the job that I'm doing. And so I take every opportunity, whether I'm holding a model's hand or I'm talking to the hair and makeup team or whatever, about what I'm doing, why it's important, why you need me on set, instead of just giving the model $50 to go get a manicure, and come mani-pedi ready. And so we have to be our own best advocates, especially with regard to educating people who are outside of the industry, because we have a captive audience. We're literally holding them. And so we should be using that time to share with them why what we're doing has value.
It's exactly it. And I stress that. In any, when you go to a doctor, you go to any big company that you're going to invest in, there's always a consultation. And we need to be that same way. These people are investing in us and they're trusting in us, but I still truly believe in that consultation. And the consultation, I don't always brag about really who I am, but I just say, you know, I'm an experienced nail tech. I've been doing this for many years. You obviously found me either through social media or from word of mouth because I don't advertise in any other way.
Sure.
And so what drew you to me? And they're like, it's the art. You know, it had nothing to do with my education, had nothing to do with my location.
I like your work.
I liked your work. And then when they're here in my chair, I really do use that time to say, you know, do you know what I'm putting on you? You know, do you understand this? Do you understand the dynamics behind it? And sometimes what really makes me mad is they'll maybe have gone and gotten a gel set done and the tech never flashed their nails and it burned so bad. And you can see
Oh,
the white spots from the burning. You can see their agony, their anxiety that I even am going to put them close to a light, even for the top coat set. And so it's the education behind it. Then they start trusting you because they know and that you're not there to hurt them. This should not be a painful service at all. This is pampering.
totally.
And
Oh my
so
gosh, you're so right.
the trust that you build with them of sharing your knowledge, that's why they continue to come to you. Pretty soon, it's not even about the art. They just trust you so much and believe in what
Yes.
who you are
Well,
that then the word of mouth really spreads out there because they're like, oh, she knows what she's talking about.
oh
That's
my gosh, you're so right. Because it's and even beyond holding their hand and having that conversation when you're in the throes of the service. But when I teach social media classes, I highly recommend that you use your social media channels as a further extension of client education. Because the whole reason we're on social media, first of all, is to fill our books. But the second reason is the way what social media does and our presence on social media and our branding and all of that fun stuff. What it does for our potential clients is it gives them a really good expectation of the result and the experience they will have when they come and see us. And so if you're using those channels to educate and say, okay, I just spent all day at a workshop. Here's what I learned. Here's what I'm bringing back to you. Here's how I add value to your life. Because let's face it, nobody needs to have their nails done. And so I think part of the frivolity of the services we provide is sort of where, you know, we're not looped in with other by appointment professions like doctors and dentists and massage therapists and things like that. Is, first of all, we don't have that level of education, but second of all, we do have to kind of fight uphill a little bit or up the current of what we do is apply color and art to nails, but it's so much more than that, and the health benefits of having regular manicures and the things that can be caught and avoided and the diagnoses and things that we can refer away. It's all just so important. And so if you're not using the opportunity on your social media channels to do that, I think it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Yes. So true. So very true. Oh my goodness, the comments are rolling in. Sue says that she's in Freeport, so I'm not sure where that is by you.
Oh, Freeport. It's north of me, but hi. I'm in the Humboldt Park neighborhood of Chicago. I'm on the near west side of the city.
Oh, that's awesome. Eileen, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Eileen, we need to get you on Tech Talk, by the way. Hint, hint.
Ooh, exciting.
Angela says, I know I can always trust that Ashley has our best interests at heart. And I can see why.
I get fired up about it, you guys. But thank you, Angela. I really appreciate that. Angela is one of our very best subscribers at the Nailscape, and she's always really great at giving feedback too. So I appreciate that.
She did call herself a nailscaper earlier.
Yeah, nailscapers.
Lisa says, I've nearly left the industry many times directly due to the manufacturers and the educators and their behaviors and attitudes. To me, it's about the nail pro and helping where I can, not about getting their money out of their hands. Yes, Lisa, I agree with you 1,000%. You know, with me, there's been many times that companies have wanted to sponsor my Tech Talk. Okay. In my eyes, that's because I would need to do a little bit of a blurb or an advertisement somewhere for them. And, you know, and that's based around the money side of it. That's not me. So you can tell that all of these Tech Talks are still non-biased, non-product biased, free. I do not get paid. I am not endorsed by anybody. Everybody who comes on here does not pay me. They're on here for their own reasons. And I Love that. That is the trueness of what I feel like the heart and the passion of our industry is the people that are willing to come on and like you share your opinion, share your experiences and help others, be able to get to the next level as well. And I love that part. So Eileen, I'm glad, or let's see, Lisa, I'm glad that you have chosen to stay in the industry and be a part of the platform and rise above all of that and not make it about the money part of it, but about the passion of the industry itself. So thank you for that. That's a good point.
Well, and there's, I'm sorry that she's had so many negative experiences with educators, because on the flip side of that coin as well, I know so many passionate and well-trained and qualified educators that are really in it to bring education, whether it be technical or product-based, to the masses, because there is such a big miss in many nail schools. But you, again, have to think critically and be the casual observer that has to follow the money. And that's why I really enjoy being independent as well, because yes, there are companies that have tried to, they've gone so far as to put me on the schedule for their educator training. And I'm like, guys, no, it's not. I really appreciate it. However, I do still see the benefit of being independent and being able to, especially for something like the box, to be able to choose freely of the things that I think are going to be really impactful for the subscribers to receive versus something that I have to put in the box because I'm contractually obligated to. And so I totally agree with you with regard to sponsorship. I think, I have had brand relationships in the past, but it was never anything that required me to be exclusive. And that was always my terms, is that I have to be able to still advocate for the nail tech and bring them what I think is the absolute best thing in the moment, as opposed to, again, something that I have to.
Yeah, absolutely. So Angela says that she has a question. So being a session manicurist in different states, do you need a license in every state or an overall license? She's just curious.
Great question, Angela. So it depends on the state that you're in, of course. Like, I feel like any licensure question does. In Illinois, so I have a current nail technician license in Illinois. You can look me up. I'm on the website. I'm also in the process of having my license transferred to California because I may or may not be working there. And if I'm actually physically doing nails somewhere, I would like to be licensed. Lots of large cities, Chicago included, does not require you to carry a license to do hair, makeup, or nails on set. And that is in a way to remove some of the barriers to entry for the filming industry. And so if I'm working on a show like Chicago PD, which I have in the past, I don't necessarily have to hold a license to do services in the makeup trailer, but I do, because I feel strongly, I am 100% an advocate for licensure. I am 100% against deregulation, just because I think it's a public safety hazard. And it also devalues what we do. If we were to open this up to just anybody can do nails at their kitchen table, guess what's going to happen to our prices? They're going to plummet. And so I hold the licenses in the states where I work, just because I feel strongly about it on a personal level, but most places do not require anything beyond your normal nail tech license.
Yeah. And so to add to that, so in the state of Wyoming, we have to be licensed. You have to actually go to a school. You cannot do your education based online. I, as a licensed tech, cannot teach non-licensed nail techs. That's why in our group, you'll notice that everybody's professional. They have to, prove that they do it. And so it's kind of interesting because so here's the part, those loopholes. So as an educator for like Light Elegance, I can go teach at a school where they're not licensed yet because I'm an educator through that company. But as an independent, I cannot.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so it's always kind of weird, But so what I do before, so I live really close to Montana. So in Montana, with their rules, I can use my Wyoming license to educate licensed nail techs. So I teach in salon workshops so that I know that they're already licensed. But to go teach at a trade show where there's non-licensed techs, I cannot. So there's always like these little, levels. So it depends so if you just want to do manicuring services from state to state, you'll need to check with the state. And then usually, yes, you have to be licensed in that state to even make a dollar. You can't even like do it as a voluntary thing. If you are going to be teaching, it pretty much states from state to state, you can use your state license, but you can only teach licensed nail professionals. So you'll just have to check in with that from each one. There is not an overall one where you can get licensed and then you can float around from state to state. You have to transfer it from state to state, but you can hold multiple licenses. I do believe, though, that they have you capped at 2 or 3. So,
yeah, which is so silly to me too, because why? How does that harm someone to be licensed in 5 different states? I mean, especially like on the East Coast where everything's so close together. I don't know how that hurts anybody. I mean, obviously fraud would be my number one concern there, but to your point about requiring as an educator a license to teach, and requiring that you're only teaching licensed nail techs, what I do as a session manicurist is 100% of the time considered a mobile nail service. And so am I working outside of my scope of practice, or am I in violation of my license by doing a mobile service? That's something I also have to consider. Thankfully in Illinois, I'm not. But yeah, you really have to be, there's so many loopholes and gray areas, and good for you, Amy, for being educated in what you can and can't do as an educator, because many people are not, which is sad.
Yeah.
And many people are not licensed also.
I know, I never want to jeopardize my license. And I can tell you, I'm pretty sure my state board has my phone number listed on a list that they know when I'm calling. And I always ask them, is this a good time to talk? I always call with a range of questions, and I use my state board. I pay them. I pay them a lot of money. And when my inspector comes in, he knows that when he comes in, he doesn't just get to walk around and say that I pass or I fail. Oh, no, no, no. He's going to sit it down and he's going to tell me what other salons are doing for sanitation. He's going to tell me what other salons are doing and they're set up for their nail tables. Then he's going to, and I pick their brain. And I don't say that I absorb everything that they say, but I can say that at least I know who to call when I have a question that arises. And I call other states that I'm going to be teaching in, because I get asked to like drive over to other places and do education. And majority of the time I just call their state, tell them what dates I'm going to be there. They take my license number, what I'm going to be teaching, and they do their research or whatever on me, and then it's approved. And so it's worth a call. Just ask. It's a conversation.
Well, we pay a licensure fee for a reason, and so the state board really does work for us when it comes to that. And Amy, are you required to do continuing education credits for renewal in Wyoming? Okay. So here in Illinois we are, but most of the states around us are not.
There's no way to regulate it here, and they don't want to hire somebody else to regulate it. And so therefore, there's nothing we can really do. Now, I did work quite a few years ago on getting some volunteers together to make it happen, but there was no way to regulate it. There was no way to mandate it. And so therefore, there was nothing else that we could do. So it really came down to just focusing on what I can do as an independent to be able to get the ongoing education out there. And it's been great. So people are like-minded like us. And so I think they want it, but it really comes down to rules and regulations and passing bills and who's going to, regulate it, who's going to manage it.
How expensive these things are to administer, too. We also have to take that into account. I'm in a notoriously corrupt state that has no money for anything, and I still count myself very lucky to be in a state that requires continuing education, and it also requires would have to have a special license to be a nail technician instructor in a school, which I think is the case in most areas. But it's just so funny to see how things are different. Wisconsin to the north just passed something basically deregulating continuing education. And I think about, people who have been in the industry much longer than me and how much things have changed even in the past 2 years. I can't, speak to the past 20, but I think it's really important, if you're not externally motivated by a state telling you have to. I really have a lot of respect for the people who are internally motivated and just want to be better and know what's happening. So tip of the cap to those techs.
Yeah. And then to ask your state on the ongoing education, some states are now allowing online education as their CEU points, or their credits, I should say. And so I've actually been where they've been able to use my workshops for their ongoing education, which I never thought that they could. I thought I would have to be some sort of an accreditation through the state. So kind of, look into that and see if it's an option for you. It's different from state to state, but
Definitely.
yeah. But once again, I agree with you. Kudos to the ones that continue the education and continue to take courses and stuff like that. Like it's important. And for me, it just keeps me passionate about what I'm doing. I like that. I'm a bit of that nerd part of it. That I like that kind of education.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's important. And it's also important to admit that we don't know everything. And then, no one's above taking a class, and just even if it's on the basics. I saw a question I wanted to answer.
And Stacy says, glad I'm able to catch this. Stacy, I haven't seen you in a long time, so hello.
Howdy. So Sue asks, for those of us who are meeting me for the first time, she wants me to talk about my subscription box, and she's an actor, SAG-AFTRA. How would she break into doing nails for the various shows? Ooh, good question. So I'm going to answer your session question first. So doing nails for the various shows, it's interesting because for film and TV, most of the time they require you to be a part of the Makeup Artist Union, whichever local of whichever version you are. However, I don't qualify for the union because I'm not a makeup artist. So it's like an interesting kind of double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But it was more of a just being connected with them through makeup artists I've worked with in the past and for special requests. Usually shows like that the makeup department doesn't have a budget for me to come for every episode. And so it's just for either featured roles or for if they have a guest star that they need a nail service done for. Otherwise, they usually just do it themselves as makeup artists. And then if they need something outside of their normal skill set, then they would bring someone else in. So that's the usual. But if you look at a show like Claws, where they actually were the first network TV production to have a nail department, that's a whole other animal. And so breaking into session work, I actually do have a class on that. If you're coming to Premiere Orlando, you may see that this year. But really, it's just about finding the resources where you are. Every main street of every town has a jewelry store that needs beautiful images for their social media. So just reach out to local photographers and start building a portfolio. That's the best place to start. And then with regard to the Nailscape box, it's a bi-monthly box that comes out, guess what, every other month. And it's $59. It's shipped worldwide. Domestic shipping is included. If you're outside of the US, shipping is extra. It's 5 to 6 full-size products from brands that I'm really excited about, and it's pro only. So you do have to show me some type of certification in order to receive it. And I just love it. It's so much fun. I love seeing what everybody creates with the products inside the box. Since I'm not a distributor, it is products from different brands every time. So it's not just the same kind of, oh, here's what they have out that's new now. It's brands that I really am excited about sharing with you. And then I also include some things in the box that I think would be good for you to retail. So if you haven't, as most of us haven't, taken full advantage of that potential revenue stream, it's a good way to sort of push you into that and help you really explore growing your potential revenue by 20 or 30%. So thenailscapebox.com is the site for that, and I hope you'll join me.
Yeah, and we'll get it in the comments as well as all your social media. So we'll get them in the comments so people can join in. Sue just says will you have a session work class online, and will you put the link to that box, please? I think it would be fun.
Coming up, yes. So stay tuned. That's coming very soon, actually.
Yeah. So talking about what's coming up and coming soon. So let's put you on the spotlight a little bit more than what we already have. First of all, what's your dream job? What do you want to do when you grow up?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I have it now. I'm self-employed. I am a 5th generation firstborn entrepreneur. So every first child in my family on my dad's side for 5 generations has owned their own business. So it's something that I can't fight. It's in my blood. And so I have my dream job. I love getting to just talk about this kind of stuff with you. I love educating at shows. I love rocking the boat a little bit and questioning why people have the beliefs that they have when it comes to the industry and where they're getting their information. But talking about nails and nail products and techniques and how to build our businesses, really elevating the industry is my number one focus. And so I think every day about what I can do to serve the industry and do my part to make sure that what we do is viewed as valuable, worthwhile, and as a really viable career choice. And so I guess when I grow up, I want to just be doing this on a larger scale and reaching more beauty professionals. I do think that I will eventually bring in some of our other career brethren, maybe on the hair side or estheticians and things, because I think the goals and the concepts are the same no matter the beauty discipline. So yeah, I'm excited about what's coming. I'm excited about everybody's progress, the things I'm seeing out there, just all the cool things like this, what's coming down the pike from more independent educators. That's what really gets me like charged up and excited to do my job.
Yeah. I could see you being a part of legislation, like being a powerhouse in the beliefs and fighting for, a lot of us techs on that level. I've only met you today, but I can kind of see that fire and I like it.
It's just it's so interesting to me, and I love this opportunity because usually it's my fiance who has to listen to me like blabber on about stuff like this, and he's like, I know, deregulation, yes. I like what's happening with a lot of the independent groups. Her name it's fallen out of my head right now, but Politics Beauty, I think she's doing a great job as well, especially on the legislative side of things. So yeah, I think the more together we are, the more connected we are through things like Facebook groups, through chats like this, the better for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Ashley, I can't thank you enough for coming on and spending your time sharing your opinion. Keep your opinions and do that, keep them, shine with them, express them, because at some point in time, what we realize, whether you're in politics or anything like that, at some point in time, you're going to understand where they're coming from. And it makes you understand that sometimes things need to change. And with a voice like yours and the opinions and the experiences that you have, it paves that way for all of us to get on board and say, I want to be a part of that. And I want to be a part of making those changes too. And so it's kind of fun to watch you grow. I love that you're already in the job that you feel is your dream job. That's fabulous. I push people all the time. I'll be like, when your client's sitting with you and they're like, oh, I always want to be a florist. Well, have you ever volunteered like on Mother's Day to help, deliver the flowers or cut or whatever? Well, no. Why not? If that's your dream job, why are you not taking the steps to work towards that?
True.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm doing my dream job. I love this, which is kind of funny because only a few years ago did I decide that this was an actual job and kind of quit looking for always another side thing.
That's so smart and very true. I think the number one thing that we usually let fall by the wayside is, what's your goal? What's the goal you're working towards right now? Even if it's just, I need to get my 2 p.m. on Tuesday filled. That's my goal right now versus, your 5-year goal. Or like you said, changing your paradigm a little bit and thinking about like, okay, this is the job I'm doing. Am I giving it 100% of my effort and focus? And if the answer is no, then fix it. And yeah, I think, we can sing and sway and hug each other about, how we're doing our dream jobs. And that's awesome. I really love how you're helping people ignite their passion and how you're helping people see that this job is what we make of it. And if you're stuck and you're feeling not creative and you're feeling like, you need to be doing something else, step away for a little bit, and then you'll realize, what you really have in this, and how we get to creatively express ourselves every day, how we get to form these relationships with our clients, and the real value and service that we're bringing to their lives. So yeah, thank you for having me. This has been really fun. I could go for another hour. We could just talk. But this has been super fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity and the platform. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. And once again, Tech Talk wouldn't even be here if you guys didn't give a portion of your time to be able to join me on screen and answer the questions as they come up and from your heart. I mean, nothing that we do is scripted. It's just this. And so I like that part. So thank you again for taking your time on today. So as you guys well know, that in the comments, we will put all of Ashley's social medias, websites, and all of that. And if you have any other questions, ask them, even if you're watching them on replay, because not only will it tag me, but we'll also tag Ashley, and then we can answer them as they come up. You can always private message us. And
yes.
You have other questions as well. I know Sue is definitely wanting to get in touch with you to get more information on session manicuring. And Sue, you are just one that's always fun to watch grow. I love that you have a different take in the industry with doing movies and all of that kind of stuff too. So I love watching and promoting and supporting the people to take their own way and their own path in our industry. Because there's, like you said at the beginning of this, just because you become a nail tech doesn't mean that that's all you have to do. There are many avenues. You can become educators, instructors. You can, I know some techs have anxiety of even having somebody sit across from them. So they get into the non-people role. So they do more like online full nail, kind of like a press-on type of business. There's so many things that you can do. You don't have to specialize in everything that this industry has to offer. Hone in on your specialty and develop it. And like you said, give it 100%. And when you find that that's what you want to do, you'll find that you're working within your passion, within the career that you want for a real job.
Totally. 100. I'm completely in agreement with you. And I think just to piggyback off that as well, it will evolve and it will change. I thought when I started that I would be doing a mobile nail concept called Pop Nails, and I would have a chain of salons, and it has totally changed in just 5 years. And so I love watching the evolution and the growth, and how people's how their ideas change over time, and then the things that you find that really ignite your reason for being, and the things that make you excited to do this job, and how they change over time. It's really cool to see. So please, yes, feel free to reach out to me. You can always DM me on Instagram too. That's usually my preferred method of communication, or you can shoot me an email, whatever. I'm easy to get a hold of.
Wonderful. Again, thank you. Merry Christmas to you all.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year also.
So can I ask what's a tradition that you love every year that you do for Christmas?
Ooh, it has changed a little bit, because I was very holiday. I avoided the holidays because I worked in retail for so long. The holidays were just the worst. And so I can share one from childhood, though, that I have recently restarted. My grandma had, probably still has, one of those ceramic Christmas trees that has all the little plastic peg lights. And I just remember always taking all of those plastic pegs out and rearranging them and making, this is a white stripe and this one is green. And last year, my fiance's mom gave me my own ceramic Christmas tree to have in my house. And so I just love those things so much. They're making a huge resurgence. If you have a vintage one, you can make a lot of money on it. But that's what I'm really looking forward to plugging in, is my little ceramic Christmas tree.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, Merry Christmas, and continue on. What a great tradition that is.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Well, you guys all have a great day. Ashley, again, thank you. And gosh, I can't express enough how Tech Talk has not only changed, and like even seeing the comments coming up, has not only changed and ignited with the techs, but this forum and this platform, I just can't thank you guys enough. So thank you for a great year today. Ashley, your episode number 74 that we have done on Tech Talk. And I just thank you, like from the bottom of my heart, very sincerely. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's such a big deal. All right. Well, thank you again. Happy holidays, everybody. And round of applause for Amy for 74 Tech Talks.
Thank you.